This executive order helps keep firearms out of dangerous hands. As I continue to call on Congress to require background checks for all firearm sales. And in the meantime, my executive order directs my Attorney General to take every lawful action possible to move us as close as we can to universal background checks without new legislation.
The Biden administration, exploiting the language in the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act and through the weaponization of the ATF, is trying to end private sales. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms, NRA certification and multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. And if you like my channel, like my content, you can support me with the links in the description box. Everything is appreciated. Let's talk about this. Now, as you heard in my opening, Biden is taking, once again, I keep telling people, keep an eye on what this guy is up to behind closed doors. Okay? We may be getting our wins in the courts, but he is behind the scenes doing some real sketchy stuff. And what is now being leaked is that next year he's going to use, once again, exploitation of the language of the Bipartisan Communities Act. The Safer Communities Act, if you remember, they call it bipartisan because of a couple of traitors went over to actually sign off on this thing, which has done nothing for crime, but that wasn't the point of the bill. And he's using the language when it comes to the sale of firearms. What is happening here is that he is once again going to use his weaponized ATF to crack down on people who sell guns privately. Now, depending on the state that you live in, you as a person can buy a gun, take it to a gun show, and maybe sell it for $10 to $20 more. If you do this, he is trying to basically make you get an FFL to do that because he's claiming you are a gun dealer if you sell it for profit. Let me jump in here. New leak shows ATF will pass rule to eliminate private sales. The Biden administration will use executive orders and the weaponized ATF to issue a rule limiting the private sale of firearms, according to the New York Times and verified by AmmoLand news sources. The new rule is expected to be unveiled by the end of the year. President Joe Biden plans to announce that he is directing the ATF to close what every town calls the private sales loophole and the digital loophole. The private sale loophole is where an individual sells a firearm for profit but does not possess a federal firearms license. Biden will call on the ATF to develop a new rule requiring anyone who makes any profit by selling firearms to possess an FFL. Guns tend to increase in value over time. A gun purchased in 1980 will likely sell for more money today than its original value. Let's use an example. You have an original Colt Python. You know good and well what you paid for it. You can get quadruple now. So if you took it to a gun show, said, I'm going to sell this, you probably paid $500-600 for it way back in the day, and you could sell it for $2,000 to $3,000. They're now saying you now have to have an FFL to do that, despite the fact of just incremental value going up. It doesn't matter. You're selling it for a profit. The so-called digital loophole includes marketplaces like Armless Firearms Classified, where private individuals can list their firearms for sale. The Biden administration wants to see these marketplaces shut down, but it is unclear how that unconstitutional goal will be accomplished. Websites like Arms List do not sell firearms directly, and if you know, it's like damn it, I can't think of the name of. There's a music website. Basically, they just hosted people who shared files. Napster. Thank you, Napster. It's the same thing, but Arms List is doing the same thing. They're just connecting one person to another. They have nothing to do with the transaction in between. But AmmoLand News spoke to Arms List founder Jonathan Gibbon about the attacks his company faces and the upcoming ATF rule. Arms List has been battling anti-gun groups for years, fending off several lawsuits. Arms List has a perfect track record at defeating these attacks, but the cases are costly. Quote, private party transactions are not a loophole, Gibbon told AmmoLand News. It's really not. Buying and selling firearms is a guaranteed right under the Second Amendment. Interfering with state laws allowing citizens to exercise their Second Amendment rights should concern everyone. Americans have the First Amendment constitutional right to use the internet to communicate about their other constitutional rights. The rule, currently in draft form, is expected to be announced later this year. The announcement will be followed by a public comment period. The Biden administration aims to reveal the final rule by late spring or early summer of 2024 and for it to go into effect by the fall of next year. The rule is still in the early stages of development, so the timeline is subject to change. Previous ATF rules changes such as frame receiver rule, bump stock rule, and pistol brace rule have been successfully challenged in court. The courts have ruled that the ATF does not have the authority to pass these rules, subverting the power of Congress to make laws. In an attempt to head off another defeat, the ATF and the Justice Department will claim that the power to require private sellers to obtain an FFL was delegated to them by Congress through the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. Can you now start to connect the dots? Okay? That's why he passed this thing. He knew the language. And here's the scam. Here's the scam. And this is a tweet from the ATF. The passing of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act last year changed the definition of what it means to be engaged in the business of selling or the business of dealing firearms. Section 12002 of the law outlines the definition. Read the BSCA, and there's a link for it. And I'll come down here. And this is a brief explanation of what they're referring to. The BSCA was a massive gun control bill that passed Congress with the support of some Republicans. The bill changed the definition of a gun seller. The BSCA altered the wording of Section 921A of Title 18 United States Code. The BSCA altered the definition of someone engaged in the business of selling guns from, quote, with the principal objective of livelihood and profit, to the ambiguous statement of, to predominantly earn a profit. Now the Biden administration is exploiting that change through its upcoming rule from the text of the BSCA. And then it discusses it here. We should know what this means, and we need to know what this means. The term to predominantly earn a profit means that the intent underlying the sale or disposition of firearms is predominantly one of obtaining pecuniary gain as opposed to other intents such as improving or liquidating a personal firearms collection, provided that proof of profit shall not be required as to persons who engages in the regular and repetitive purchase and disposition of firearms for criminal purposes of terrorism. Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and come out. And a lot of people warned when the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act was being pushed out there. They warned that the language leaves the door open. I think it was John Cronin said this is opening the door for gross abuses. And here they are. Okay? This is not just one thing. They can go even further using that same BSCA to executive order universal background checks, which is going to lead to national registration of firearms, which clearly is a violation of the basic United States law. But they're looking for every angle they can to circumvent not only the Constitution, but the law of the United States to do what they want, to once again hold the law-abiding public accountable for the behavior of criminals. They are not interested in solving crime. If that is clear. This is going to do nothing because people who transfer guns between each other will do it according to state law and do it properly. They have no interest in solving crime because they need this mayhem and they need this criminal activity to keep pushing garbage like this. We were warned about this when the Safer Communities Act was presented. We were warned about this kind of maneuver, and now here it comes, and it won't stop, and they're not going to. We need to speak up and start putting our foot down. And these Republicans who jumped on board with the BSCA need to be removed from office. If they want to run as Democrats, then we know what they're about. But if they keep running as Republicans, the damn people in the districts need to get rid of them because they're not looking out for the good of the American people, and that's the law abiding. They're once again catering to the criminal element because this thing right here is not going to stop criminals from doing what they do. Need I go ahead and talk, and speak to the choir, right? But here we are. Let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I will see you on the next one. Peace.